point on this property?
Yes, so through the chair, Mr. Harris is correct. The former zoning bylaw did have a portion of those lots on the south side of Gowrie as agricultural, and then the very southern portion of those lots were still hazard land. Since that time, our new zoning bylaw is in effect, and the entire lot has lots on the southern side of Gowrie are all completely hazard land.
So that line was established by LPRCA?
Correct.
Okay. And what year was that?
Through the chair, that was in our 2014 zoning bylaw.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that, if I may, Kayla, it was my understanding that the hazard land was moved further to the north across the other side of Gowrie, correct?
Through the chair, yes, that is correct.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago. Yes, I do recall that. Thank you. Is there any other questions for this gentleman? Councillor Sonnenberg? Mr. Harris?
Thank you. Mr. Harris, the present property owners there, the people that with the houses now, do they have their own snow removal equipment, or do they employ a private contractor? How do they get rid of the snow?
They just bring in a contractor but my experience, because I go down there in the wintertime to visit the property, and there's very little snow down there. Because of proximity to the lake, I don't know that they've ever really been snowed in.
And the obvious question, are you willing to share in the expense of removing the snow?
Well, I would be, absolutely.
Thank you. That's all I need to
Any
know.
further questions? Thank you. Okay, no more questions at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Is there anyone else in attendance that evening who would wish to speak in favor of either application, the Harris application or the Murphy application? Anyone in attendance? Mr. Vandenbush, please. Good evening, Ron. Are you speaking to one or the other or both? I thought it might be both. Yeah, away you go.
The only thing I want to say is that I've discussed this before. We have 6 actual buildable lots there, and I know property values. If houses are built on that, your tax revenue is going to increase tremendously. And even if the county had to pay to upgrade either of those streets, it would make a matter of 2 or 3 years. You'd have your money back. An increase in taxes from a few $100s now, what they are per lot, to once the homes are built on them. My taxes in Turkey Point on my rebuild went from $2,000 to over $7,000. So that's new tax base for the county. And to address the Pandora's box or precedent-setting thing that was mentioned earlier, totally different circumstances. I know Councillor Geisens brought up one time a year or 2 ago, what's he going to tell his constituents that had a lot of record on the back of a farm that was on an unopened road and they were turned down. Well, this is a totally different situation because you have 5 or 6 buildable lots that is going to be a positive cash flow for the county, where in a case like that, where you can't expect the taxpayers to pay to upgrade a half a mile or a mile of road for 1 building lot. This is 6 building lots. So it's a positive investment for the county. After 2 or 3 years, you're going to have that tax revenue forever. So economic viability comes into play, which is part of the provincial policy as well. That's all I'm going to say.
Any questions for Ron? Go ahead, Councillor Black.
Well, I'm not sure, but I always hear this from developers and people that want to develop property that Norfolk County is going to make money on these properties. And that maybe you're not aware, but we only collect $70 million and our budget is $170 million.
A perfect reason why you should try to generate more revenue. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you again, Ron. Is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak in favor of the Harris or Murphy applications? Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition or in general to the Harris or Murphy applications? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. Give us your name. Whoop. There you go.
My name is Brian Mather. I live on Radical Road, and I own the property to the east of Cumberland. This situation's been going on for almost 20 years. There was a proposal in 1999 by Mr. Harris to obtain a building permit for the same lot, and a presentation was made to the then Nanticoke Council, of which John Wells was a member. And the committee recommendation back then was totally in favor of Mr. Harris. But Mr. Harris proposed to bring that road up to municipal standards, 18 feet wide, 2-lane to municipal standards, and the committee approved that unanimously. A few weeks later, went to council, and there was a snowstorm. Mr. Harris was away at a business meeting. I was stuck in London, and Mr. and Mrs. Murphy stood up and spoke against this. And the council turned it down. So here we are, 18 years later, road still a laneway, when we could have had a properly constructed road to the benefit of 10 lot owners. So here we are again. And I agree, and I have said that we need the tax revenue. And I have no objection to 10 new buildings at the end of Cumberland and on Gowrie. I have stated that. What I do object to is that road needs to be brought up to standards and be municipally maintained. And your roads department said there were 2 options for this. So one of those 2 options needs to be adopted, in my view. So I am sitting on the fence here. I will vote for these gentlemen to have their building permits if the road is brought up to municipal standards. Gentlemen, any questions?
Mr. Mather, just before I turn to council, just for clarification, there are correspondence in our package from you, letters from 2002, et cetera. Do you have property that abuts to the east side?
Yes, I own the property from Radical Road to the lake on the east side.
On the east side, okay. I knew you were down there, but I wasn't just sure.
Correct.
Thank you for that. I saw Councillor Oliver and then Councillor Brunton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mather, for your comments. I'm looking at my air photo here. Is your home back there? You live there? That's your home back in?
Yes.
Okay, and you do not use Cumberland to access your home?
I was forced by Mr. Murphy to build a $40,000 laneway
Well, I'm just
across my
asking you-
property, so I have an entrance permit, but in general, I do not use it. I use my laneway
you use
primarily.
your- Okay, thank you. So I guess, that being the case, I guess I'm puzzled as to why you would seem to be so insistent on Cumberland being improved, even though you don't use it.
Well, right now, there's 6 vehicles in 2 homes down there, 6. So they're racing up and down on a gravel rutted road, dust flying. Let's bring 10 lots on at 3 cars. What do we got then? We got 30 cars going up and down this road, and we're not providing any better road based on what we're hearing here. So we need a better road, simple as that. You're going to get the tax dollars. You say that you don't get enough tax dollars to construct this road, but if you construct the road, I believe the other lots will be sold. Would you agree with that, gentlemen? They'll be built on. That's more tax dollars. So I'm against it unless the road is brought up to standards.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Brunton, please.
Thank you, Mayor Luke. Thank you, Brian. You're not as slim as you were in the old football days.
You either.
Anyways, my question for you is, did you ever use the laneway that these gentlemen used, or have you always had your own laneway?
When I built my home, I used Cumberland because I did not have a laneway, and I had requested from the county access from Cumberland to my home, but there was a 1-foot reserve and it was denied due to some neighbors' concerns.
My question would be, if that road was brought up to whatever standard, would you be interested in using it? Or would you always want your own laneway?
Well, I already have. I've spent, as I said, $40,000 to build a laneway that's better than that one. So I'm not going to use it unless I do a turnaround with a trailer or something. In general, I'm going to use my own.
But you could get access onto Cumberland.
I do have access onto Cumberland.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Black?
Thank you, Mayor Luke. And Ryan, I think you look exactly the same as you did in high school.
Thank you,
so-
Peter. Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. Just wondering, though, is Cumberland, I thought I read somewhere that Cumberland Street is what I read it as, street. Is it on your property? Has it moved, shifted over the years?
It was on my property, and Mr. Murphy undertook, with Mr. Harris's help and Mr. Sinden, as it was spoken to earlier, did straighten the road with the county's assistant, and there was ditches dug on either side, which have never been touched since, so it's overgrown, it's really not doing the job anymore.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Thank you. Any further questions for Brian? Thank you very much, sir. Is there anyone else in attendance who wishes to speak against or in general to these applications?
Your Honor, councilors, my name is David Blake. We own the property to be the west of Lot 1. It's been touched a little bit in here on a drainage issue. We do have a culvert at the corner of Gowrie Street in our property. Basically from that culvert all the way to Radical Road usually is flooded out, especially here last week was quite bad. The culvert is very undersized, and I think Mr. Harris addressed the two lots come together in a V, and the water channels down to the lake from there. I would like to ask council that if the houses are put in, which I have no objection to, usually what happens, they put a foundation and raise it up. They put a septic system in and raise it up. Are we assured that that water will be full flow across Gowrie Street down between Lot 1 and Lot 2? Someone addressed that it was a few acres to the north that the water gathers from. I think maybe it could be more like 300 or 400 acres come down through there. I see their soil mat assessment was done in August of 2015. You could do an assessment then, but it's very dry. If you went down there last week, you would notice an abundance of water running through there. So in all this, I'm kind of confused with all what's going on with the road and everything. Could we be assured that we have drainage access to the lake down between 1 and 2? Secondly, if the road is, I guess, taken away, I'm not sure if that's actually happening or not, does that mean our hydro line just gets cut off and we have to bring hydro down somewhere else? And one other thing, if the road allowance, or the Gowrie Street was built up road, would that bring water? And I believe Mr. Klein said that gas is there. That's news to me because we tried to bring gas in last year. And would that bring sewer in? I don't know how close the sewer is to there. It would be a big benefit to us if we could have access if that road was done over that way.
Those are your three questions/concerns.
Yeah, the culverts, the water drainage for us is huge.
We'll see if we can get any answers for you. I think your first question was you wanted some assurance of proper drainage. Should these two lots be developed?
Yeah, for sure. There's a clear natural drain right through our place under Gowrie Street and out between 1 and 2. That isn't interrupted. I've seen it in the past. We've dealt with water at the lake, and it's a major issue. I've dealt with it for 15 years. It's not a small task. especially if you don't have 600, 800, 1,200 feet to go back inland to lower the water, so when it hits the lake, it's slowed down.
Mr. Baird, I cannot answer that. I would believe that any concerns of drainage would be looked at before a building permit is issued. Do you want to comment? I would think, but you're the more professional than I'll ever be.
Well, I think what the deputation is saying, it's more than just the individual lot grading. We'd have to have regard for what happens, how the natural water courses. So that would be normally part of the development process. But I think as it relates to the roadway, I know Ms. Robinson would probably have some comments there. It's not about just draining the lots or the immediate area. There is quite a large watershed, as you suggested, all the way back up towards the Radical Road. So that would have to be taken into consideration by the applicants as part of their redevelopment of their lots. So we would pick that up at some point.
Anything to add to that, Lee, in the way of drainage on Gallery?
Through the Mayor to Council, I think that Mr. Baird covered it fairly adequately. Pending direction as to what would happen with the existing driveway, and excuse me, and I do call it a driveway because as it stands right now, it is an unmaintained, unopened right-of-way. So it is a piece of property that Norfolk County owns with the intention, with the idea that at some point it could or may not become a right-of-way. When we were speaking before with respect to, I believe the deputation's question was with respect to the removal of the road. I don't think that that's ever a consideration. It's not a road, it's a private laneway, and sort of the matter before council is, should council approve these applications, staff will need direction as to what to do with this road. Should the road be upgraded, if it should be upgraded to full municipal standards. You know, some of the things that we're dealing with is, while Gowery is a 20-meter right-of-way, Cumberland is not. It's only 9 meters wide. And that makes it very difficult in that small 9 meters to actually construct a proper right-of-way for that. Because we own it as municipal right-of-way, the hydro will always be able to remain there. It is county-owned property. So regardless of what happens with the road, your hydro will remain in that. That opportunity for hydro to come down through that county-owned property will always exist, unless they chose to sell it, which isn't something that we're discussing this evening. And if it was that, we do put easements in place. So the hydro wouldn't be an issue. I can't speak to whether or not there's gas in the area. I don't actually know that. From a municipal servicing point of view, i.e. water or wastewater, that is not something that we would be undertaking. It's a considerable distance from the facility at this point, and it would be extremely expensive, i.e. in the millions of dollars to bring those servicings out to this location. With respect to, should staff be given the direction to upgrade the road to municipal standards, either at the county's cost or at the applicant's cost, or however that works. Drainage is something that we take very, very seriously because that protects the integrity of our road, so it would most certainly be considered as part of the design to ensure that there was proper drainage and we didn't direct any water to inappropriate locations.
Thank you.
Dave, I think that staff have responded to your 3 questions.
Yes, thank you.
Is there anything else, sir?
No, that's it.
No? Any other questions? No, I can't at this point. I possibly can in a minute. Pardon? Yeah, I recognize that. I got to follow my protocol here, and then I'll certainly give the applicants a chance at the end. Okay? Is there anyone else in attendance who wishes to speak in opposition or in general to this application?
I'm Brian Van Hoodegem, and I live out by St. Williams area, and it says in here, in relation to housing and homelessness, with the intended effect of modernizing the existing housing policy, and how does the Norfolk County feel towards making sure everybody has a home to live in?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the next item on our agenda, sir. If you can just let us finish this one, then certainly we're dealing with that in the next report.
Okay, I decided to bring it to the attention while I was still thinking about it.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition or in general to this application? Mr. Klein, any comments from you?
No, not really. I will wait, and if there's council have questions, I'm prepared to respond
Thank
to
you.
those. But I've
Mr.
heard
Murphy?
nothing of-
Anything? Mr. Harris? I'd like you to come to the mic. Could Mr. Harris please and come to the microphone, and then we'll be sure everyone hears. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I speak to two issues. Number of buildable lots on Gowrie Street. Because the Hillary Robertson property, actually septic tank on one lot, house on the other lot, and she has the park lot at the bottom. She has 3 lots. Lot 6 is buildable, lot 10 is buildable, lots 1, 2, and 3 are buildable, and that's all that are buildable at the bottom of on Gowrie Street. The drainage issue, well, I've owned that property since 1999, and the drainage gabion that's 10 feet wide, 10 feet deep, that gathers all the water between lots 1 and 2, it can be a huge rainstorm, torrential downpour, and I can go there 1 or 2 days later, and my lot is completely dry. So that gabion works very well.
Mr. Harris, I have a question for you, and I'm certainly not in any way debating with you. I know that Hillary has lots 3, 4, 5, correct? Her home is situated on lot 4. Why would she not be able, if it is a registered lot, lot 3, plan a subdivision, why would she not, if she chose, be able to sell that and build
Kim Murphy owns 3.
Oh, Mr. Murphy does. Okay, so
Kim
Hillary
Murphy.
owns, so would Mr. Murphy, if he owns lot 3, would he not be able to sell that property and have a home built there?
I imagine Kim Murphy could. She lives across. She shares 2 lots as well. She owns the lot between myself and Hillary Robinson.
Okay, well, we're dealing with lot 1 and 2. I appreciate that. I know Hillary's on lot 4. It seemed to me that there is a building lot between 4 and 2.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Oliver, please, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. While Mr. Harris is at the podium, and I was interested in Mr. Blake's questions about the drainage, and certainly when I look at the air photo, it does show as a large area coming from the north side of Gowrie. In other words, that woodlot up in there that I guess is Mr. Blake's, it all does drain down towards Gowrie, roughly there. So my question to you, sir, if you know, the large gabion erosion control structure that you talked about between 1 and 2, which does a good job of draining lot 1 and 2, I assume it is receiving the water that's coming from north of Gowrie.
Not really. No, there's actually a rivulet, and there's a big old pipe installed that Mr. Murphy installed that years ago, I understand, which goes underground behind. Does it go onto Hillary's property? Yeah. Paul's. Is it possible for Paul to come up and clear these issues up, because he's been there for forever? So there's a secondary drainage system in place that collects the water north of Gowrie Street and channels it underground down to Lake Erie.
So if I might, Mr. Mayor, as far as you know then, would it have been built by the former city of Nanticoke or municipally built, or was it strictly private?
I understand Mr. Murphy built it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Mr. Harris? Anything further from council? Mr. Wells and Mr. Brunton, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, much has been mentioned about the road and need to be improved and so on and so forth. And I know she's not prepared in terms of doing a lot of research, but could the roads manager give us any idea what she might think would be the cost or the problems of fixing that road?
Yeah, I'll allow that. That's
Thank you.
related to these applications. Yes, Lee? Yeah.
Through the mayor to council, a rough approximation of a narrow two-lane road on that sort of side. There's a fair bit of reconstruction that needs to be done. The biggest concern from a costing point of view will be Cumberland. It's not quite wide enough, and so we're going to need property from the adjacent property owners. If not, we're not going to be able to get sufficient drainage in there plus a sufficient road. And if we're going to do that, we have to make it sufficiently wide for that. So an estimated cost, I would say, to reconstruct the roads in that area to basically a gravel road with a tar and chip for a dust suppression mechanism, I would say we're probably in the 150-ish range for that. Because we have to do all the appropriate ditching and all of that sort of stuff. I wouldn't propose to put in curbs or any of that sort of stuff in this location. I would propose to do ditches. That wouldn't include the costs of acquiring property that would be needed to construct Cumberland. Cumberland's approximately 9 meters wide right now. We need about 7.5 to 8 meters of travelable surface, which only would leave us a meter and a half on either side for drainage ditches, which wouldn't be sufficient given the volume of water that's moving through that area. So hopefully the adjacent property owners would be amenable to addressing some of the issues with respect to the property widths or the property lines.
Thank you. That'll give us a rough estimate of the cost. Excuse me, sorry. Councillor Brunton.
Thank you, Mayor Luke. My question is back to Mr. Klein. Mr. Klein, I'm a little confused. We have, I call it 10 lots in there. How many different owners are there that have these vacant lots? Do you know?
No, I've never researched the ownership of the individual lots.
I think the gentleman mentioned there's septic tanks on vacant lots with no houses, like the house is on one lot, septic on another lot. Some houses sit on 2 lots. I'm just wondering how many lots are possible to be built upon?
Well, if a house sits on 2 lots, then unless there's sufficient land to get us some kind of a severance, which I doubt would ever happen.
No, I'm just thinking of
that would be considered one property.
I'm thinking of the remaining, like, I guess I'm a little confused as to how many lots are now occupied by something.
My understanding is 2 lots are occupied by existing structures.
No, they can't be.
Pardon?
They can't be. The houses sit on 2 lots. One house sits on 2 lots.
Well, that's one. Then that is considered to be, in my view, 1 lot.
Okay, but it takes away from the 10 we look at on our drawing.
So if you have 10 lots, and you got 1 house that sits on 2 lots,
right, then
you've got basically 8 lots left.
Yeah, but you're not getting to the bottom of the point here. Mayor Luke just indicated that, and was it Mr. Murphy or Mr. Harris said he owns, Mr. Murphy said he owns 2 lots.
He owns one on the north side of the road and one on the south side of the road.
Okay? I'm just trying to find out how many possible homes could be built down there. 6 more? 6 additional. Thank you.
No further questions? Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to close this public meeting dealing with these 2 applications. Oliver has moved, Wells has seconded. We do in fact close this public meeting. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. I would like to deal with the decision on these two applications separately. I'm going to deal with DCS 1739 first, which is the Murphy application, then we'll go on to 1740 second. I am looking for some direction from council. I will start with Councillor Black, please.
Mayor Luke, I would move the recommendation contained in the report for refusal and speak to it when time comes.
The motion is to move refusal of this application. Do I have a seconder? Excuse me. This time I do not have a seconder. Any other direction? Councillor Wells?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I will move that we approve the application for building on this lot.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Geisens? I will read the motion, then we will discuss. Wells has moved, Geisens, excuse me, has seconded that the application by Paul Murphy of Port Dover on the affected lands described as Lot 1, Part 288, Plan 288, Geographic Township of Woodhouse, Norfolk County. This is to amend Norfolk County Official Plan and the Norfolk County Zoning Bylaw 1Z 2014. The file number is there, and it is being recommended for approval. Now we will discuss. Councillor, sore throat. Councillor Black.
Thank you very much, Mayor Luke. And this application has come to us before in a different format. I didn't approve it then, and I accepted the staff report and their arguments that it is an unmaintained road. I know in Simcoe days, we've had some of these roads come to us, not many, in the town of Simcoe, and the policy was always that homes must be developed on open roads. And the issues of safety, liability, and yes, we are living in 2017 and not 1948, and the standards are greater, and so is the liability. And that seems to be what drives us these days, that if there is a problem, if we approve this, there's two existing ones down there now, and they can come in and out and do as they please, but to allow any more, we are saying to those people that you are going down a safe road, and there should be no problems, and that garbage trucks, fire trucks, police, they can all get down to you and address your concerns. That's what we're saying by approving this, when in fact, they can't, and that's what the report has said. So who's going to be held liable? This council and the taxpayers of Norfolk County will pay for any of that liability.
Councillor Oliver, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too remember very well when this application came to us 2 or 3 years ago, I think, perhaps even twice during my time around this table. I don't recall for sure. But I know the big issue then at that time, at least equal if not larger than the access issue, was the hazard land issue. And I'm very pleased, and I appreciate staff's efforts in working with LPRCA. We have always been saying around this council table that the LPRCA are the technical experts when it comes to this kind of thing, whether it's riverine flooding or lakeshore erosion. And if there's a way to engineer yourself out of that problem, then that should be acceptable. And that's what's happened in this case, where both of these properties now have had shoreline engineer expertise tell them there is a safe building envelope, provided you stay within that envelope during and after your construction, you will have a safe location to build a home. So then it just becomes the road access thing. And all through our debate tonight, I've been looking at my airflow. I promise that's all I was doing. I wasn't doing emails, Councillor, I promise. And as I look at Cumberland in particular, and the first part of Gowrie, Mr. Mayor, to me, that's as good a road as we've got some houses that live on the Sand Road concessions down in Councillor Heights' neck of the woods, where people are living on very poor quality roads in some cases, and they seem to be able to survive. Well, I'm just talking those 2 or 3 Sand Road concessions. So my point is, Mr. Mayor, And I asked these questions of both Mr. Klein and Mr. Harris. If these individuals are prepared to live on the road as it exists today, that's all I need. I'm not committing to upgrade those roads. If and when we decide to do it, or the council of the day will decide to do it, I would suggest not on these two homes, but if there are in fact other homes that go down there, there it may be worth justifying doing some road improvements. These applicants are not asking for that. I'm not committing to that, but I do support giving them the opportunity to build a safe home now that we have the means by which it can be done. So I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brunton.
Thank you, Mayor Luke. We heard Mr. Klein say we have this situation all over the county. And I'm really concerned, and I think of another issue in Port Dover that we've been dealing with down there, Jalen Crescent, where we've allowed development, things haven't been done properly. And I do have a concern, and that's why I asked if we're going to have another possible 6 homes down there in this area, I would like to see at least some improvement on the roads, because the next thing will be they'll want their garbage picked up, and they'll, you know, I don't know about water and sewer. I mean, that's way out of line maybe, but we are opening up a bit of a can of worms here if we approve this. But I do support it. But I think we have to do something with the road to improve it. And I don't know if, I was hoping maybe we could defer it till Lee could come back with a proper estimate to improve things down there. I don't know if that's still in order, Mayor Luke, or not, but I'm certainly not objecting to more development, more tax revenue, as Mr. Vandenbush indicated, but again, we are opening up something here that's going to affect us in a lot of areas, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
To respond to your question, certainly any motion is subject to deferral. That would be up to you, and you would need a seconder to do that.
Mr. Chairman, or Mayor Luke, I'll make a motion to defer it till we get further report from our county engineer.
You are putting forward a motion to defer this decision until we get more information concerning road costs and restructuring.
Correct.
Do I have a seconder for that deferral? Councillor Black has seconded, so we will now speak to the deferral. Do you wish to put a time on that motion of deferral or not? Okay. Thank you. Lee?
Through the Mayor to Council, we can certainly have that back in 4 weeks. Sorry, I guess we have an extra week in May, so we could certainly have that back for...
End of June?
Certainly.
Second meeting in June of council, thank you. By the end of June, Councillor Brunton? And Mr. Clerk, if you would add that. Discussion on this deferral. Start with Wells, Sonnenberg, and then Councillor Oliver.
So the intent of the deferral is that we get a report back with regard to upgrading and the cost. Is that the idea? And that cost would be Norfolk County cost? Are you tying upgrade to the building or not? Or are they separate?
I believe it should be paid for by the parties down there.
So if I understand it correctly, when this report comes back, if it were to be $200,000 as an example, you're suggesting that for that $200,000 as an example would be picked up by the owners. Is that what your intent is?
Well, I think that's the typical way any developed land takes place. Recently, I can think of hundreds of thousands of dollars involved in other subdivisions. We're not asking for water, sewer, etc., but I think there's some obligation when we open up things like this that the people should improve the road. I don't know to what standard. I'll leave that up to the county engineer to decide that. But you heard Mr. Klein say that there are many instances like this across the county. And we have to be cognizant of that because we could be into that situation. All I'm asking is let's see what she comes back with. And if you fellows feel that it's too much money and you want to go ahead, we'll deal with that at the time. Thank you.
I am going to, I know I have two speakers. I am going to read the motion just so that it's clear what we are debating. And certainly, if there are any questions on the deferral, I'll entertain that as well. Moved by Brunt, seconded by Black, that the recommendation for the Murphy application be deferred to allow for a further report outlining potential road construction cost to be considered prior to July of 2017. To the deferral, Councillor Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will not be supporting deferral. I'm willing to deal with this tonight. We talk so much about risk and liability, actually too much about risk and liability. We all live in some kind of a risk situation. I probably shouldn't live out in the country where I do because it takes 10 to 15 minutes for a fire truck to get there. We should all live in town where the fire truck can get there in 2 minutes. And speaking about living in a risky area, watch the news when you go home tonight. Half the country's underwater. Right from here to Nova Scotia, it's being flooded. Are we to ask all those people to move away from a high-risk area? Come on. Thank you.
Councillor Oliver. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think I can support the motion for deferral. We've had a good debate about this tonight. We aren't being asked to consider an upgrade to this road by either of these applicants. If that were to happen at some point in the future, council can deal with it at that point in the future. I don't think we need to yet again hold up a decision on these two lots with respect to the matter of whether or not improvements may be needed to the road in the future. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see this decision resolved one way or another this evening, and I can't support deferral.
Councillor Columbus, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I too cannot support deferral. And we heard from Ms. Robinson. She mentioned that this road is going to take widening and some ditching. There's not enough room for that. I'm not so sure she can come back to us in a month with a clear answer on this, because we may have to purchase land from a neighboring abutting property to make it up to the standards that she's going to be proposing. It was mentioned earlier about the fact about ingress and egress and emergency vehicles. I think Councillor Black mentioned that, right? And it's not uncommon. You know, a fire truck, they end up in the back 40 of a lot of farms, down some rough lanes and roads, and they get back there to put the field fires out. Same with the ambulance. They have ATV equipment, and they get back there too. So I'm going to support the original motion the way it was. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion for deferral? If not, I'll call that question. Those in favor of deferral? Those opposed? The motion is defeated. And we'll go back now to the original motion of Wells and Geisens, which is for approval. Any final discussion on that? Councillor Black? Okay. I will get the clerk to, when he is ready, to conduct a recorded vote. Thank you.
Councillor Oliver.
Yes.
Councillor Columbus.
No, the deferral was defeated. This is the motion for approval.
Councillor Geisens.
Yes.
Councillor Height.
Yes.
Councillor Sonnenberg. Yes. Councillor Wells. Yes. Councillor Black. No. Councillor Brunton. Yes. Mayor Luke.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Motion carries as indicated by our clerk. Thank you very much. And we'll now go to the Harris application. What is your wishes on this? Councillor Height?
Sorry, Mayor Luke, I'll move that we approve it. And I'm wondering about that stub, if we do it here, to declare it surplus and get rid of it. The one south of Gowrie. Does it have to be a separate motion, or is it an amendment to the motion, or how do we handle just disposing of that? There's no point in us keeping it.
Well, in all due respect, I would suggest that we deal with the application, either approve it or not, and then if you wish to subsequently put a motion on for that, I think it's the stub of Cumberland below Gowrie down to the lake. So could we deal with this, because it's Well, it's sort of related, but it really
No.
isn't a part of the application,
Yep.
so. So are you moving approval?
Correct.
No, I thought so, I heard that. And seconder, Wells? Moved by Height, seconded by Wells, the application of Robert Harris, which affects lands as part of Lot 2, Plan 288, Geographic Township of Woodhouse, Norfolk County. This is to amend the Norfolk County official plan and the Norfolk County zoning bylaw 1Z 2014. The file numbers are there, and this is being recommended for approval. Discussion on this application. I see no one wishing to discuss. Those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried. Thank you. I'm coming to you. I'm just getting some clarification because I know we're in a public meeting format and we have another application to go. So I don't want to really get into it. Go ahead. I'm going to let the clerk decide where would be the appropriate time to entertain your topic.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just putting on my Shelley Darlington and Candy Webb hat because they're both not here right now. But we do have quite a process for declaring land surplus, especially when it's lake access. There's actually a policy that we don't ever do that. Council can obviously exempt any policy, but my suggestion would be if you have a motion that it would be for staff to bring something further back rather than to make a definitive decision on that this evening.
I know that it costs us $6,700 to dispose of something that has virtually no value, Mr. Mayor. You know, the access to the lake in this spot, we've heard it's eroding, there's tiles there. We know at Old Mill Road, we were liable for our road, and it ended up causing us a great big stink. I personally think we just dispose of this piece of property. It's pointless to hang on to it, and it's a liability. I don't need a whole spiel or to spend $6,700 to dump this myself, so I'd really just soon get rid of it.
Well, as chair, I am more interested at the moment whether this is the appropriate time, whether we finish up our public meeting. Certainly, there's ample opportunity to bring this up. I'm not trying to say do not bring it up, of course. I'm just wondering we should clean up the applications or have people here.
Well, just, I think through you, Mr. Mayor, hearing what Councillor Height has to say, I don't think there's an issue. I think it would be wise maybe to go through it and just do it as a notice of motion, just to allow us to ensure that we get the proper legal wording for the lot and that we determine what property owner we're going to dispose of this land to. Obviously, both property owners have to be given an opportunity to take the land from us if we're going to offer it. So we could easily work that out with staff and make sure that the motion isn't something that has a problem later on.
Councillor Height, you'd be okay with going through notice of motion? Thank you, sir. I'm now on page 148. This is our last application under this evening's meeting. It is DCS 17-37. It's our 5-year official plan review, and it's the housing official plan amendment. Excuse me, I see Mary Elder here. I see Tricia Givens is also with her. Welcome, ladies. I will now officially open the public meeting on this report, DCS 17-37. Are you ready already?
Yes,
You're
sir.
ready already?
Yes, Mayor Luke.
Okay, Mary, thank you. I just wanted to give you a second. If you're ready, when you want to start, you can present this report to us. Thank you.
Thank you. The housing study was undertaken as part of the 5-year official plan review, and based on a review of housing demand, supply, and affordability, gaps were identified and a housing strategy was formulated with action items. Some of these items are amendments to the existing housing policy in the Norfolk County official plan. SHS Consulting was retained to carry out the study, and on June 1st, 2016, they facilitated a focus group with key representatives from agencies, organizations, and members of council. Preliminary findings were reviewed and ways to address housing gaps were discussed. On October 3rd, 2016, Council received the Housing Study and Policy Options Report from the same facilitator, or consultant, I should say. And Council resolved to support in principle the draft Housing Study Official Plan Amendment and have it circulated to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, as required through Section 17.1 of the Planning Act. We did amend the draft amendment as Council had directed to remove the reference to demolitions in Policy 7.3G. There is an attached letter in response from the Ministry's review that said that they have no comments on the draft amendment, so in other words, they're supportive of what has been proposed. In order to better meet the housing needs of current and future residents, it's important to ensure that there's adequate and appropriate housing supply, an increase in supply of housing, of affordable housing, and to improve the coordination and capacity within the system. So the actual official plan amendment that we're looking at tonight adds a policy statement that specifically supports accessible housing forms. It incorporates a definition of affordable housing. It supports official plan policies to provide a diverse range of housing options and adopting a target of 15% of all new housing be multi-residential dwellings and 15% be semi-detached and townhouse dwellings. Policy 7.3C is to be revised to set a target of 25% of all new housing be affordable to low and moderate income households, and that at least 10% of all new dwelling units be affordable to low income households. There is also policy that's being revised to provide criteria for rental housing conversions. And finally, there is a policy 7.3.2D that's being removed because it does violate the Ontario Human Rights Code. There are other recommendations in the report that will be used to guide other housing decisions, particularly those from the Social Housing Division that Tricia works with. But there are other ones, as I was looking over them tonight, that are follow-up work for planning staff as well. We did provide several opportunities for builders and the public to access the information on the housing study and the draft official plan amendment. Pam Dusling and I attended the Home Builders Association meeting in February of 22, and even last fall there was an open house held on the issues and options, and the housing division had a display and staff present to answer questions. On May the 1st, we held an open house. We held an open house, and on May the 9th there was an open house this year, and there were staff present. There were two people that did come and speak. One spoke of their issues with social housing, but no written responses have been received. The reason for this rather short presentation, not giving you a lot of the details of the background statistics, is because we have based all of this and brought it forward to you before from the consultants' work, and the feedback that what we have had has been positive, although it has been limited. So therefore, the only revision that has been made to the draft that you saw previously is removing the reference to demolitions. This has been a successful partnership between the Social Housing Division and planning staff. And next, I need to take a look at the provincial policy statement. And there's just a few things I want to highlight there that the municipalities are required to do. And that is to provide an appropriate range and mix of housing types and densities to meet the projected requirements of current and future residents. And so we are to maintain at all times a minimum of a 10-year supply of designated and available land and a 3-year supply of residential units that are zoned or draft approved so that we can meet the housing needs of our residents. Finally, I wanted to mention that we need to establish minimum targets for the provision of housing which is affordable to low and moderate income households. And we need to permit and facilitate all forms of housing required to meet the social, health, and well-being requirements of our current and future residents. This includes special needs housing. So communities planning staff and our social housing staff as well are of the professional opinion that the proposed amendments to the official plan are consistent with the provincial policy statement and represent good planning. The provision of a range of housing options is important for Norfolk County to be an inclusive community. The proposed changes are based on sound research and contained in the housing study. Planning staff supports the recommended official plan amendment as it will assist in achieving the vision expressed by the residents of Norfolk County in the Grow Norfolk 5-year official plan review. Community members value being inclusive, healthy, and a diverse community. Meeting the range of housing needs for all residents is key to achieving this vision. The proposed policy changes will assist in that and ensure that the county complies with the applicable planning legislation and requirements.
Thank you. Questions from members of council, Councillor Columbus and then Black, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is with respect to the third bullet on page 149 of our agenda package, and it supports official plan policies to provide a diverse range of housing options by adopting a target of 15% of all new housing built in Norfolk County be multi-residential dwellings and 15% semi-detached and townhouse dwellings. So that's our future, but over the course of the past 10 years, how far are we off target with respect to a statement like that? Like, where have we been currently or in the past 10 years in comparison to where we got to go in the future?
It's not something that we have kept very diligent track of, but we do know that about 80% of our housing is single detached houses.
Okay, so I take it a lot of this property here that we're talking in this statement would be rental housing, is that it?
It would be a combination, I believe.
Yeah. So I just wonder if planning staff have ever taken into consideration all the single-family homes that are rented and all the surplus farm dwellings that are rented as rental properties. Has there ever been a study on that type of housing?
Through the mayor, I think that's very difficult to get at, but I do know that in the actual study, our consultants did the best they could with Stats Canada data on rental and owned housing and affordability.
It'd be a good idea to get some more accurate numbers on that, because there are a lot of homes out in the rural areas that are rented, and maybe they don't get mixed up in the equation here like they should be.
Thank you, Councillor Black.
Luke, thank you very much. Through to Mary, just wondering if you could explain a little bit further the removing an OP policy that requires separation distance between group homes. Just wondered if you could explain that. What is that all about?
Thank you, through the chair. So this is attached to the issue around zoning for people versus zoning for use. So historically, in many municipalities across the province, there was requirements for distances between group homes and that type of housing. Through current legislation, appeals to the Ontario Human Rights Codes, it's been determined that we cannot zone for people, you zone for the use. So we're removing language around distances for that type of use and focusing in on the specific land use, which is residential and whatever density that use would be.
Okay, thank you for that. And just further, the group homes, they are located throughout or in the community. That was the idea, to sort of mix and mingle. And they're in residential homes, but there are, I guess my question is, when I go by some of these group homes, I can identify them because of parking. And they have workers that come in and assist them. And there's more of a need for parking for these group homes than a normal residence, I believe. And I have had complaints about parking. So is this addressed at all in the zoning or the official plan, that there is a higher need for parking requirements, to accommodate the people that help.
Thank you, through the chair. That is, Mary has indicated to me, one of our future actions to address.